Yeah, thanks, Cathaoirleach, for putting this on the agenda. Very much appreciated by campaigners for disability, for people with disabilities. So, and also to not have to kind of suspend standing orders to have it discussed. And obviously, it goes without saying that it is great that the project around the bats has moved on, but it certainly came as a shock to me and a major embarrassment to me when I was contacted by Access for All. Sean O'Kelly, who's here in the gallery, Bernard Mulvaney and his daughter Sophia, who's a very vocal, active wheelchair user who makes sure her voice is heard wherever she goes, and by Graham Merrigan up in Ballybrack, who all, after coming to see the bats, were outraged at the inaccessibility of the lowest level, and really it should come as a salutary warning to all of us to be more careful and more aware in these situations. We have obligations under the UNCRPD to, in the United Nations Convention on the Rights for People with Disabilities, which Ireland signed up to in 2007, didn't actually ratify in 2018, and disgracefully hasn't actually accepted the optional protocol yet. But we have obligations to promote, protect and ensure the rights of people with disabilities, and we have not done that. And it is a huge shame that something that has that so much money, so much work, so much effort has gone into, that has not actually, and the whole notion of the campaign around making a public space at the bat site was that it was for all. That was the whole point, because at the time that the campaign started, the Save Our Seafront campaign started, the idea was that it could be private, that there'd be minimal accessibility for people in general. The whole thrust of the campaign was it to be open for all, and it is really not good enough that we opened it knowingly, as far as I can see, that the bottom level was not accessible. And so my motion calls for emergency works to be done, whether they're permanent or temporary. I don't mind. I accept the report that says we're going to accelerate phase 2 is fantastic. I'm dying to see phase 2. I'm dying to see the swimming pool there. That's all great, but it is not it's not acceptable that we don't have access now, and that emergency works need to be done, because it is possible to come in beautifully from the Newtown Smith side to the mid-level. It's possible to go in at the top to the cafe when it opens, but emergency works need to be put in place, and I would ask that this happens as a matter of urgency. I'd also point out that the sea is not accessible. A neighbour of mine who has cerebral palsy is not in a wheelchair but has difficulty with mobility. He swims regularly at Sea Point. He loves the ramps at Sea Point and the long steps with the I don't know what you call it, not a very high tread, I think it's called, and he loves those because you can get in terribly easily. If he can't actually walk down even the ramps, and I wasn't aware of this at the time, but also he says that getting into the sea itself is a major problem. Yes, there's one rail, but where the rail is, the steps are terribly high, so there's a difficulty there as well. I'm not sure if it's been assessed, but that needs to be looked at as well. I'm just throwing that in. And just one comment as well, that we need to be careful about the idea of lifts. Lifts are not equal to accessibility, because the lifts will only be available when the cafe is open, when the building is open, and the darts just show us how lifts are not equal to accessibility. And Sean and Bernard have been at pains to remind me of that we can't say that because there's a lift that automatically guarantees accessibility. So I hope people will support my motion, and certainly I support the other motions. The other motion I have is, just very briefly, I won't speak to it again, just to say that it is a motion to ensure that invites are issued to campaigns, to representatives of the disability community and disability campaigns when it comes to public openings and events, because that will make sure that things like this are not sidelined or not long-fingered in future. Thanks.